We have a small but intimate group here to listen to our student showcase. So this should just motivate everybody to tell more people about getting involved in service learning. But it's a very important high-impact practice, as you will learn from this great group of students who will tell you all about what they got out of their service learning experiences and why it's so important. It's all being captured by our fabulous media intern who is videotaping everything, so there will be a lifelong after this day is done because he will capture it on video and we will put it up on the internet. So my name is Silvestri. I'm the Director of Strategic Communications for the Office of Community Engagement and Partnerships, which takes a really long time to say. And this is part of Service Learning Day, and it's our first student showcase, so hopefully we will grow. And every semester we'll have a student showcase where students will have the opportunity to share what they've learned in their service learning courses. And hi, come on in.
Cassandra, yeah, come in.
Cassandra is on the panel, so she'll have to go sit down next to Laura, who's right over there. So, Lance Arney, who's our Director of Service Learning and Associate Director of the Office of Community Engagement and Partnerships. Todd Wells, who's the Director of the CLCE. And Dr. Brianne Standbeck is here. Elizabeth Dunn is here, so they have students who are up here on the panel. And Steve Newborn has come from WSF to see our presentation. Hopefully he'll start covering service learning all the time, as I've been mentioning whenever I can. So thank you so much, and we're going to get started. Each student is going to share a bit about their experiences, and then we're going to open it up to questions. I think we'll start with Jenelle because she has a video to show, but maybe you'll start, give your presentation, and then we'll show video.
Okay. Well, the service learning class that I did was our strategic communication management class. And it's kind of one of those capstone things, so it's supposed to be toward the end of the program, so you're applying all the theories and stuff that we learned in the beginning. And so basically what we do in this class is act like an actual boutique where we do all the groundwork for an organization, from researching and implementing an actual strategic communication plan. This past semester we worked with the Brandon Outreach Clinic, which is a free clinic in Brandon. They've been an organization that was struggling. They have a small staff, so they don't really have somebody dedicated to do this stuff for them. So they needed a lot of help with their website, getting the word out, just recognition and donations, things like that, that most nonprofits struggle with. And so we went and met with them and kind of got an idea of what they needed and went and hit the ground running and went in organization mode. We each had a job title which was representative of something that you would find in the organization. I was the quantitative researcher, so for me, what I did was created a survey for businesses in the Brandon community. So we went out and surveyed them to see kind of what the feeling of the Brandon Outreach Clinic was, what the awareness was, and kind of what ways the business community was donating. And we also had a focus group with the volunteers at the outreach clinic to see what their feelings are of the clinic and things like that, and also in-depth interviews with the board members just to see what they think needs to be changed. And so we had a cohesive picture of what was going on. And so basically what we learned from all our research was that the Brandon Outreach had been doing well, but there was something there that needed to change in order to get them where they wanted to be as far as donations. So we found out that the businesses weren't necessarily aware of them, but the ones that were had really good feelings toward the clinic, and that they were donating usually on a monthly basis. And so we came up with this kind of like a healthcare plan, so that when potential donors go to the website, they'd be able to pick a copay, kind of like you would with your regular insurance, and so they could pick a tier, $10, $20, $30, and donate on a monthly basis, and it's kind of like sponsoring a patient's healthcare visit. And we gave them also a press kit, so they would have press releases, contacts, and one of the things that was included was a new logo. Their logo was kind of outdated. It's what you'll see in the beginning of this film. It's a V with a bunch of arrows going everywhere, so it's a little confusing. You don't really know what it's doing. And then also the name was outdated because when it's saying Brandon Outreach Clinic, it's just making it limited, so it's hard to get donors from outside of the Brandon area. So we had some suggestions about that, and so what we came up with was a new logo and helping them to phase out the Brandon part, having an outreach clinic, and then Brandon at the bottom. And the logo represented more of a health feel, so it has the plus sign in the middle. You can see it on their website. It's not on this video because we had to keep their original logo because they were having board issues. But the video is basically the big takeaway that came from it. It has everything that they need to help draw in donors, and it gives that personal connection because it has stories from Debbie, who is one of the founders of the organization, and then it also has patients and doctors speaking to it. So we can go ahead and play the video.
What we do is we offer that very important and vital health care to people who don't have anywhere else to go. The patients that we see here usually have something wrong with them, that they need a doctor or a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant to help them manage a disease by giving them medications, and they can't afford to get that on their own. So that's why they come here. They're generally low income. They generally are out there working, can pay their bills, but they don't have any money left over to be able to pay for health care, the care that they need, because it can be very expensive. Labs are very expensive, medications can be very expensive, and without these things, then they get sicker and sicker and usually end up in the emergency room or in worst case scenario as an inpatient in the hospital. We do that by having wonderful volunteers. We have all sorts of volunteers. We have physicians, nurses, nurse practitioners, pharmacists, clerical help, who actually come here and make this type of service available to all the patients that need our help. And in the community, we have physicians and physician offices who will see our patients for free in their office. So if they need specialty care, we refer them out there. So it's kind of a really wonderful community network that's composed of people that just see the need and they want to do something about it, and they want to make a difference and help keep our community healthy. So that's what we do.
For a place where I could kind of do a little volunteer work, give back a little bit. That was the original idea before I even had the job coming out of school. I knew that was something that I kind of wanted to do. Favorite things, I guess, is that you get to see a lot of diversity. I get to see some things maybe I don't necessarily see every day in my practice, and a much wider range of demographic as well. I enjoy working with people that are maybe in a downtime in their life, and in a spot where things are tight and they need some help. And one of the main reasons I got into this profession was to help people, and this is I can't think of a better place to do it than here.
So it's one of their big fundraising events. And so we had a countdown thing that they could put on their website that counts down to the event, and then they can purchase the tickets from there. So it made it more interactive as well. That's kind of what we did for them, and you could tell when we gave our final presentation that Debbie was really touched, as well as one of her associates that came in with her. This is another board member. So you really got to see how it affected the people. It wasn't just working on a case study, and this is what we would do if this was real, but it was real. It's something that's actually being used by the company. On their website, you can see that they started to adopt the new logo. They don't have the crazy bee anymore. It's a more cohesive picture. Yeah. So it's not necessarily the color schemes that we had for them originally, but that's their new logo up there in the corner. And so they've implemented parts of it. They don't necessarily have the whole co-pay donation scheme set up yet, but part of that could be they just can't change the website yet. But you can see they're implementing parts of it, and sometimes it just takes time with these small organizations. And I think there was talk about getting them an intern also, so.
I did talk to Debbie afterwards, and she just loved everything you did, but she expressed that it would take some time for her to be able to actually implement all of what, and that's something that we find a lot with service learning, is that the students are there giving them some fabulous suggestions, but when the organization's actually able to take that next step and implement it, it might take more of a process, but that's a teachable moment as well, that some of these organizations are underfunded and may need ongoing assistance, so I think it's helpful to highlight that. So, but she loved everything they did, even if she hasn't been able to do it all yet. So that I can attest to. Thanks, Jenelle. And she's also featured along with the rest of her classmates in the OCEP magazine, so you can see more about it. Okay, I think we're going to keep going the way we were going to go and then loop back around. So since you guys thought you were not.
Okay, well, hi, how's everybody doing? My name is Jaritza Jones, but you can call me Ritz, it's very easy. Right now, I would like to start off with a quote that definitely has helped me throughout my USF career, and that is, if you want to be great, you surround yourself with people who are successful and great, and then eventually, walking side by side, you'll be successful and great as well. And I think that has definitely helped me on anything that I have done so far at USF, whether it's been through the co-op program, whether it's been working with the CLCE, working with Fools Market, anything that I've done so far has been because I've been surrounded by successful people. Into a fraternity, anything. It's all because of USF has definitely opened up opportunities for me. So right now, which I'm very excited about, is I'm actually actively interning with the City of Tampa, the Emergency Management Programs. I'm actually making great strides there. Actually, I'm revamping their website right now. It's not up currently right now. I've only been able to do one sheet for so far. But by December 1st, it should be up and running. And I will be, people are liking it so far. So that's looking like, oh, we have likes. So I'm definitely making a big progress there. So I'm very excited about that. But that opportunity wouldn't have been open for me if I did not join USF in the first place. And also become a public health major and enroll in a Homeland Security minor, which I actually started taking classes with Elizabeth Dunn, who has definitely opened up opportunities through her classes multiple times for me to join different situations and get involved with humanitarian relief and disaster resilience. So through the summer program, community engagement, which is a class she also taught, I was able to meet with Chauncey Willis, who is also the coordinator for emergency management of the City of Tampa. Sorry, and she liked me as an intern. So that's how I got that start. So right now I'm researching the Joplin tornado and finding out how we can learn from the lessons in Joplin and how we can do better for Tampa, because if you did not know, tornadoes are definitely a big deal in Florida. They not really that destructive, but you never know. It's been a long time, so you never know what's going to come back. So I'm doing the research for that, and I also have a research board and poster made up for next year's curriculum. So definitely look out for me with that, because that research will definitely be worth the groundbreaking for that, to find out how Joplin, Missouri tornadoes will help us in Florida. So I'm definitely happy about that. Another thing that's going on so far is I've also been motivated to do a FEMA course. So I'll be taking all of the information that I've learned so far, whether it's classes, any volunteer work, and taking it over to the FEMA course. I have actually been over there's like 5 different rounds you have to go through. I think I've crossed the bridge a third. And I just have to wait till March to get my acceptance letter, but my fingers are crossed, and I'm excited about it. And if you're not familiar with the FEMA course, it's a 10-month commitment. I think you either go to Iowa, California, Maryland, and you would do disaster relief programs, whether it's checking out for flooding or tornado, hurricanes, earthquakes, the regulars. But they also suit out for flooding, which I think is a really big deal for me to see, because flooding is the #1 in the United States of what goes on, but to help people in, when it comes to disaster. People don't really think flooding is a big deal, but it actually is a really big deal. Your life could be changed just from flooding. They're actually thinking about putting cities underground, so just to leave out the flaying info, but I think that would be a definitely.
And the other thing I was thinking is there's a little theme going about how service learning can help save lives, because Jenelle mentioned that, and also Ritz, so we'll see other ways that we can show that, because USF students are boots on the ground helping save lives in a lot of different ways. So I think it's really interesting that even through mass communications, you're making people aware of what's happening at the Brandon Outreach Clinic, and Ritz and all the wonderful work that you've been doing for the city of Tampa. And so we're so happy to have both of you here today. So we're going to move on to Johanna, who we've been very involved with over the years, so it's been great to hear from you.
That nonprofit organizations are going to be very receptive to that support, because they're underfunded and they need those resources. And I come from a very different perspective. I acted as a community partner advocate on campus as an AmeriCorps Vista, and managed a federal grant working on behalf of community partners. So I wanted to make sure that my partner for the course had her voice heard as loudly and as clearly as mine was, not only in the classroom but in actual practice. So I spent the summer developing a curriculum with my community partner, and that was a lot of fun. And I'm still developing the research and the kind of the way to narrate that story. And Ashley, my partner, is a large part of that, because obviously how we tell our story to the rest of the world is about us and not just about me as a PhD student hoping to get some publications and get a PhD job in a few years. So it's been phenomenal to watch the course evolve, and the department's been quite pleased with it. The students right now are in the throes of panic, which is very usual for this time of the semester, but they're producing grants, they're writing grants on behalf of nonprofit organizations. The stakes are really high, and that's, I think, what is getting them a little concerned. It's not just about the grade they're going to be getting, but about the deliverables they're providing to someone besides me. So audience awareness is a big part of that, being aware of the rhetorical situation, all these things that we like to talk about in English and in technical communication more specifically. So very excited to kind of finish up the semester and talk with Bonnie and Lance and everybody afterwards and see kind of how it went and what I can do better next time. But that's kind of my project. So.
That's great. Are you going to have presentations at the end?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Each group is probably going to present.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like to come to the presentations.
Yeah.
That's how I met a lot of you already. So.
Yeah. So that's I'll be sure to invite you guys if we do that.
Okay. So thank you so much. Now we're going to go to Yoselis. I know she has her professor here as well.
Hi, I'm Joselis Ramos. I'm a fifth year undergrad, double majoring in secondary education and in gerontology. And this past summer, I took Dr. Stanback's Aging in Space and Place class over the summer. And I have to say, out of all the courses I've taken in Mass Comm, in Spanish, in education, in gerontology, her class was definitely my most favorite, and it was because of the service learning aspect. The project that we were told to complete was to come up with an idea on how to help older adults better age in place, working with the Florida Presbyterian Homes in Lakeland. And I decided to focus on storage. So my idea was to create this scrapbooking service that could help older adults sort of downsize the large amounts of stuff that they have, but not getting rid of the sentimental value that those things done as like maybe a workshop. You can have the whole community come together, work on it. This goes back to the socializing aspect of the successful aging theory. So if they're working together with the other residents, they're creating something, and it's the scrapbook is also sort of leaving a legacy behind, which is also a form of life review therapy. They can leave it to their adult children, be able to continue to tell their story after they're long gone. So that was the project, that was the idea, that's what I came up with. I'm hoping to take it to USF Connect soon and see where that heads.
Yeah, we just heard about that this morning. So yours was really my favorite, mostly because of how you presented it and all of what you shared with us when you gave your final presentation. Also, it really resonated with me because I had so much trouble donating my daughter's clothes, because every time I think of what she was doing when she was wearing that outfit, but you need to be able to part with those things. So I thought that it was brilliant and like something that could span all the ages, which we learned about for universal design is so important.
Well, after doing the project, I actually went home and went through my storage bin, and I actually got rid of a lot of stuff.
Plus, being able to donate to others. So I think there's so many wins all around with what you came up with. So I loved it. And also, another thing that I wanted to point out is that her internship advisor is here, and it just shows another high impact practice, which is also having an internship. So you're continuing in your experiential learning, and it shows because he came out to see you present. So I think that's great. Okay, and now we will go to Laura and then Cassandra. So Laura's next, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you say because we haven't had a chance to meet yet. So it's exciting. Okay, sure.
So I'm Laura Baum, and I'm a master's student in applied anthropology and public health. It's a dual degree program, and I actually came to service learning from a different perspective. I got my undergraduate degree years ago and have been out working for years, and I was working in community organizing. And within community organizing, I saw there was a large need, like we were talking about with organizations, often there is capacity issues, and they're doing a lot of great work and a lot of important work in the communities that often their voices, they don't have the capacity to get their voices out past that, or they don't have the capacity to be able to do a university quality research work that will get the problems happening in that community heard at a wider level. So I saw that need and saw that I had the call, I guess, to use the privilege that I have of being able to get a university degree to help contribute to the communities. So I realized that one of the things that I needed to be able to do was to get university skills. I knew I was going to be working in the communities and trying to help them. So I'm grateful to the Office of Community Engagement here, who's doing such great projects. And they were able to support me in some of my work with the community that I'm going to be doing for my thesis project, where I have been working with the community near here, and I'm not that far with the actual thesis work yet, but I've been doing interviews with the community about the history that they've had, the history of the community, and then through support from the Office of Community Engagement, I was able to spend more time in the community and do actual projects to help the community with what they needed done right immediately. So as I was saying, a lot of groups have capacity issues, so I'm just helping with the capacity, which at the same time helps me get to know the community, and doing ethnographic field work. It's really important that they buy into my project too, and that they know and trust me, so that I'm going to be able to get more honest answers and more involvement from the community with my research project. So I just did some projects for them that they asked for, which included, it's a historic community, but they have all these archives just in files that have been sitting there, and they don't really know what's in there, and it's been years, and there's some stuff in the USF archives, but really there's a lot of history and data there that nobody's done anything with. So they asked for my help in being able to digitize those, and I hope to be able to take the information that we get from that and not only use some of it in my thesis project, but hopefully put it either, I talked with some librarians at with the county, and hopefully with the library here be able to get some of their archives into more permanent archive positions too, because it is an important community. And then I also, technology is important, and I try and help them get their web presence out a little more, because they didn't have the time or the energy to do that either. And I look forward to working with the community even more going forward.
Thank you. Laura, can you say which community you were working with? Did you mention?
Yeah, I'm working with Progress Village, which
Okay.
is just a little south of Brandon, I guess, between Brandon and the Bay.
Okay. Cassandra's next.
So my name is Cassandra Decker. I'm also in the master's program in applied anthropology. Laura and I are colleagues. We've sort of been walking step by step in this journey of coming back from working and seeing a need to do sort of engaged research and for the benefit of communities. I just wanted to go over sort of how my trajectory of being a community engaged service learning student has led to me being a community engaged research assistant and looking at doing community engaged research on a professional level as far as going forward post-academic into my career. So I sort of grew up just volunteering in general, just was from a very small town, was always donating my time and my efforts to help the benefit of the community. And I started a service learning project in Iowa called, as I was an undergraduate, that looked at sort of the disconnect between what Mexican immigrant children in a low-income area were receiving in terms of cultural knowledge as to how the libraries worked, events downtown that they could attend, etc., in comparison to what students in different areas were receiving in terms of resources in the community. So I started with that and really learned the importance of giving back to the community during that, of giving some tangible resources post the research. Like we've already brought up, I was actually working with an elementary program and come to find out that their capacity was very small when it came to like working outside of some very specific federal guidelines of what they were allowed to do. And so I really, enjoyed sort of doing some tangible deliverables, giving them sort of lessons that they could give to their students, giving them sort of coloring books, this very small scale stuff. And this interest from the Learning and Service to Iowa project kind of actually took me into jobs. So sort of as Laura was saying, she was doing community organizing. I was doing community outreach through a very interesting position at the Salvation Army, which is pretty unexpected when I talk to most people and their conceptions of like what the Salvation Army does. I was actually going into the Mexican immigrant locations and talking to them about services of the community and then inviting them into the stores to get even more discounted assistance following the flood in Iowa, actually. So to touch back on another project. So that trajectory actually led me to become an AmeriCorps Vista down here in Florida. So we have AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps Vistas here, and so I sort of got connected to several different organizations through my work as an AmeriCorps Vista. I got to know the community here, I got to know nonprofits, I got to know some actors that were upcoming actors, such as Ashley Poe, who Johanna works with, and then just some other already established people such as Metropolitan Ministries. And actually through my AmeriCorps Vista position, I met my community partner who is a migrant education program, the community partner with whom I do research right now. And so I currently look at, and the Office of Community Engagement and Partnerships assisted me in creating a very long research project in which I actually began this in January, and I am still collecting data to this day, where I look at migrant workers' access to financial resources, and that has sort of spun into all sorts of different topics of the alternative financial sector, and what do we do with that, and how it's so prevalent in Florida. Should we try to shut it down? Well, then what do these people do? They shut it down. This, as Laura said, the kind of organization sort of just ask you to do things that you don't necessarily have a lot of background in. I think that's part of the importance of doing community engaged work is you make your skills known to your community and they use them where they see fit and needed. And I ended up teaching financial literacy, which was very different from the mainstream sort of financial literacy. I started looking up financial literacy classes, and I was like, well, this is pointless to migrant workers compared to the research I'm doing. They already do this. I need to teach them X, Y, Z. And so I started pulling in my research and then turning it into sort of a tangible product of financial literacy courses that are relevant to my population, which will now be taken on by someone who is currently teaching financial literacy in the Hillsborough County Schools. So the importance of sort of deliverables, tangible products to your population and to your community partners. And I'm now actually, I've just applied for a Fulbright to look at microcredit and how microcredit is applied in the developed context of New Zealand with these issues of predatory lending and how they're addressing that. hoping to look at those models of microfinance and their resource distribution and applying it back here in the U.S.
Thank you. So this was a really amazing exploration of all of the different disciplines that the students represent and all the experiences that they've had as a result of having been in service learning courses. So I think we really all gained a lot. I have loads of questions, but if anyone here has some questions that you want to ask the students, otherwise I have some that I think will kind of get us discussing things for the next 15 minutes or so. Is there anyone who has something they want to address? Lance?
I have a bunch of questions, but I'll not ask all of them. All of you are very passionate about the community engagement experiences and service learning courses and projects and research that you've been able to do. How do we get more students to learn about these opportunities and take advantage of them? Because the benefits to you all, I mean, the ways that it's helped shape your career trajectory or professional identity or future research projects or getting into graduate school and so on, I mean, it's obvious. So how do we get more students to be aware of these opportunities and take advantage of them?
That was a great question.
I think just incorporate them somehow into the academic program, because I know for our program we have 2 classes like this, the strategic communication management class that I took last spring, and then strategic campaigns, which I'm taking this coming spring. So both classes, you wind up creating a campaign for a company, going out and doing all the aspects of the boutique, and it's for a nonprofit, and so it's just built into our curriculum. I never really had anything like that in undergrad, but so I mean something like that where they actually get the tangible work and are doing something good for the community as well.
We definitely are working with our faculty, and that's one of the biggest things is getting the message out to the faculty.
You go ahead.
I have sort of a controversial point that I have been saying for maybe like 5 or 6 years now, ever since I started as an undergrad and was interested in this. There's simply not enough literature that isn't boring for our students to read. And I'm sorry, because I know that as academics that we need to hold a certain standard of rigor and of professional writing, but we also need to reach our audiences. And research is showing that kids are reading Harry Potter at the age of 18, and that's what they're soaking in, and they're loving it, and they're liking that sort of less academic. I wasn't reading Tolstoy in high school. I was reading Harry Potter, and I'm an engaged person. I like to think I'm fairly intelligent. But so I feel like there's not enough literature, there's not enough examples that undergraduates can read and get excited about. So I think as a university, it would be encouraging if we, not necessarily even academically published writings, but we all on this panel need to be writing engaged pieces that we can give to our friends, and that would get them excited, because we really need to create that spark, and it's not happening in academic publications. It's happening on the ground, but it's harder to get.
I think that's such a great point, and we actually had a program at what we want to get more attendance for, and Elizabeth was shaking her head because she was there, but it was called Go Public, and it's all about how we can get this message out in a forum that's more easily digestible and easy to read. So that's part of what I'm doing and what we can all do as ambassadors for service learning.
I think to add to that, one of the big things that has come up recently, especially with all this big data, is infographics. That's what people are responding to, because especially with these younger generations, they're more visual. So if programs had, like the program websites or even the school website had these infographics that said even like so many students that have done service learning courses have received jobs, or so many communities have been helped, things like that. If they had visual things to go with it as well, and possibly even panels where students could sit in, if it was on like Notable or something, where during freshman orientation it just comes up, so it's not something that they have to go find, it kind of finds them. So
I've never had an academic thing like lead me into a job. I have had all of my next steps have been been led by engaged work, by learning service learning,
Yeah.
in my personal.
Yeah, because
So-
we've had Dr. Werder's previous class, so it would have been 2013. The video that that student put together for the Courtney Campbell Causeway actually helped him get a job. He got a job because of that video for the class. So it is.
Yeah, these are
something-
things that
Yeah.
I think other students would want to know.
Yeah,
That,
and
like,
Yeah,
this
we
type of learning can lead to jobs.
We
And
met a
connections
student,
and networking.
he was like, had some position in an academic office, and he stopped by our table, and we were telling him all about that, and all about what we did and everything, and he said that he had already graduated, but he hadn't ever heard about any of it in the entire 4 years, and he said a lot of times people take university experience right at the end, and then they have a look back on all the things they missed, is what he said.
Academic foundation.
Yeah, so we need to get more of this out to people at the freshman year.
Or as they come in as transfers too,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that there is a heavy emphasis on the first time in college crowd, but we are all listening to you as many of you as graduate students as well, graduate student orientation, I think would be another interesting entry point too.
Johanna, you were gonna-
I think it's a larger, more systemic issue than what USF can do as an institution of its size, but as far as rank and tenure for faculty, that's really important. And you talk about recruiting more faculty, but a lot of smaller institutions now are finding leverage to build entire programs that have a engagement track, right? So you graduate with a transcript that articulates you had, or for co-curricular service, you did at least this number of hours and you received this designation. And those kind of carrots too, I mean, you may or might not get a job. The economy tanked the year I graduated. I had never done any service learning, but I volunteered, and then I got I was working as a Vista. And so and I also have a philosophical issue with like an economic carrot for community engaged work, because it is about also learning objectives for the courses, right? So it's interesting to me to hear that, but also to recognize that's very true. So finding different narratives to tell about, like when you send your transcript out for graduate programs or when you send it out for jobs, like having that designation on there says something about your character and about your ability to interact with other populations and succeed in the world. So there's a lot of things, but all of this is an example from like a much smaller institution, about half the size of USF, and so it's hard to be like, yeah, that's gonna totally work here. Like we should just go do that thing. Who can I petition? I will help. But I'd be happy to sound the charge if that's something you do.
And your voice got louder when you got to that.
Maybe our office needs a student advisory committee. We have a faculty
Yeah.
advisory committee.